Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited to begin our mini mock series here on the channel where we draft with teams that have multiple picks on draft night and talk specifically about players who could fit that team and what I expect them to do on actual draft night. Of course, for San Antonio, in the first round, we're going to be mostly focused on picks 2, where Dylan Harper is a real likelihood. And then also pick number 14 is one of the big questions in the draft for me, and a great opportunity for the Spurs to kind of tie together their rotation, find a fit piece next to the backcourt of Harper, Fox, and Castle, while of course still centering their entire franchise around Victor Wembanyama. If you guys do enjoy the video today, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more NBA content. And let's go ahead and jump into this NBA draft right now. Cooper Flagg, of course, goes first overall. And while there is a little bit of discussion right now between Spurs fans, I think there's a very large contingency that believes Dylan Harper should be the second overall pick. And then there's another grouping that clearly believes Ace Bailey should be the pick, and the long-term upside that they're looking at as a potential shot maker with some of his physical athletic gifts, with a very good lengthy wingspan and just general frame. Of course, he's extremely skinny right now, but you would have to figure he's going to be able to put on some muscle, get functionally stronger. But I do think second overall, the foregone conclusion here at this point is that the Spurs will draft Dylan Harper. He is currently a much better player than Ace Bailey, and I think for the Spurs, first of all, they are in the beginning of their window. It is not egregious to think this team could be a real playoff threat this upcoming year. When you have Victor Wembanyama, you're going to have arguably the best player in any series. I know people are going to have some pushback on that yet at this point, but going into next year, I do think Wemby is going to solidify himself as a top 5 player in the league, and you need players who can play off of that. And I think this postseason specifically has really brought in the era of read and react and having multiple ball handlers. You look at what OKC is able to do around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They can drive closeouts, kick the basketball, swing it around. You look at what Indiana's doing. Andrew Nembhard, of course, has been invaluable for them. The smarter players on the court are the ones who are staying on the floor. You look at what Indiana's doing with Benedict Mathurin. You look at what happened with Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State. Talent isn't everything, and I think having smart, high IQ players like what Dylan Harper is, someone who is an instinctive back cutter, someone who knows how to move without the ball but is very good with the ball, can read the opposing team defense, can pass the ball over the top, read weak side help, and just make the right play consistently, hit the short roll, something that Dylan Harper does. That is why Dylan Harper will be the second overall pick here. Now, interesting, we're seeing some crazy stuff happen. LeBaron Feiline goes 5th overall in this, which, to be honest with you, will not happen. VJ Edgecombe falls. But at the end of the day, it really is just about getting to pick number 14 and seeing who's still on the board. The rankings here, this is Sports Kita, and the rankings are a little weird, I'm not going to lie to you. But the whole point is to talk through possibilities. So at 14, there's a lot of different ways that the Spurs can go. I really do think you're either looking for a true small forward or a power forward with extra positional size, and there's a few that come to mind here for me. Now, you could also consider a backup center. That's where someone like Thomas Sorber or Asa Newell would draw some attention. But if you look at someone like Noah Asenge, that's a great outcome here specifically. I think he would be a tremendous option at 14 because of how long, fluid, and athletic he is. I think this would be a really strong piece for their team defense, something that the Spurs still have to get a lot better at, despite having the best defender in the world at this point in time in Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs team defense still actually hasn't been that great. I think they are missing some length and athleticism on the backside around Wemby. I do think Asenge would be another good defensive event creator around them, around him specifically, that would help. And then, of course, having Castle take another step forward defensively this next year would be another positive move forward. You can also look at someone like Noah Penda, but I don't think that's really the range here at 14. Then you get into someone like Carter Bryant or Neat Clifford. Neat Clifford, a little bit older of a prospect. I think more of a well-rounded prospect than Carter Bryant, can definitely do a lot more with the ball in his hands. But again, for San Antonio, after drafting Dylan Harper at number 2, I really don't think you need that. So instead, I'm favoring Carter Bryant here over Neat Clifford quite a bit for San Antonio. I think Carter Bryant has top 3, top 4 defender in this draft class potential. And I think if you're drafting him here at 14, you really are looking at the defensive side of the ball first, drafting him to put around that nucleus of Fox, Harper, Castle, Wemby, Sohan, Vassell. I think Carter Bryant can be one of the missing pieces there. With a lower usage rate type of player, he can fit in like a glove and not really take too much of the offense away from the players you want to have the ball. Rasheer Fleming, another really great example of a guy here who could make a lot of sense for San Antonio, just given the fact that he is very large and a very good play finisher at this point. Doesn't really do a lot off the dribble. I think the self-creation tools are very, very thin and frail. But all things considered, Rasheer Fleming could be a very, very good option at this spot. There's also some other bigs, but I think down the board, when we come in with our second round pick, we're going to be able to address some of those needs. So for me, if the board played out this way, with Noah Senge still out here, I do expect he would be the pick, but it really comes down to him or Carter Bryant or Rasheer Fleming for me. And I think they all offer some differences. Rasheer Fleming a little bit bigger, a little bit more active on the glass, a little bit of a better cutting play finisher in some ways, kind of more of that small ball 5 at times, which you can utilize. He's a little bit of a bigger Tari Eason, not quite as quick and not quite as mobile on the perimeter, in my opinion, with the ball. But I do think there are some similarities there. Carter Bryant, I think more of your traditional, like, smaller power forward, bigger small forward, where he can impact the lineup defensively and really functions well as a play cutter. Shot above 70% at the rim in the half court this past year, and I think that's a testament to his play finishing tools. But I do think the overall pick here would be Noah Esenge out of Ratio Farm Ulm because of his length, size, and the emerging three-point shot, which I think there's a lot of optimism will hold true moving forward. And as you're seeing here, Boogie Fland, of course, was not in this draft. He's still on the board here, so he goes 22nd. Just assume or pretend it's somebody else. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. Sorber goes at 29. And now for San Antonio, we're coming back to pick number 38. Rasheer Fleming almost made it to us, by the way, which would have been crazy. Drake Powell goes. He's another really good defensive upside bet long term. So with the final pick that the Spurs have here in the second round at number 38, remember we've already gone with Dylan Harper and Noah Esenge in this draft. And this is where there's some really interesting options. First of all, Carter Bryant and Nick Clifford are still here. This will not happen on draft night, so I'm going to look past these guys. If they were there, obviously you would draft them, but they're not going to be there at 38. This is where, the board here is a little misleading and wrong in this website, but there are other great options. Adu Thiero, if he fell, would be a tremendous option for the San Antonio Spurs, one that I would love a lot for them. Otherwise, you can look for a big man, and there's a couple out here that do make some sense too at this spot. Johan Berenger out of Cedevita Olympia. He is one of the best rim protectors in this draft class, especially when you look at his Gotti block percentage over in the Adriatic League this past year. He's been extremely productive on a permanent basis. He can be a very good screen roll, play finish type. He's not going to give you, in my opinion, a ton off of the short roll. He's not going to give you a ton in the self-creation departments. But again, for the Spurs, that's not what you're really drafting for here, especially at number 38 after going with Dylan Harper and Noah Esenge earlier. Esenge may be having some more of that long-term offensive upside to play into. And I think specifically here in this spot, there's a few options to look at. Walter Clayton Jr., I mean, if he was still available, is an interesting option. He's not really a need for San Antonio at this point, but he is a good player, one that I think would be hard to pass up on. I do love Kobe Brea as well, someone who can really, really shoot the lights out of the basketball. I think another guy who would be a tremendous fit off of Wemby. This would let you play into dribble handoffs a bit more, to utilize some more three-point shooting off of Wemby's scoring gravity and playmaking ascension that we've seen over the last couple of years. Maxime Reynaud, another great option. I do think ultimately with him still on the board here, we should go with Maxime Reynaud, but there are some other solid options. Berenger, very good choice. You know what? Actually, we're gonna go a little bit different. Obviously, Adu Thiero is going to be the highest guy on my board. We're not going to take him because I don't necessarily think he'll be at this spot in the draft. But we will go with Johan Berenger because I do think there's a chance he could fall in this draft. So far, through our 3 picks that we had for the Spurs, we walk away with Dylan Harper, 2nd overall. We're able to take Johan Berenger at number 38. And at number 14, we kind of sandwich that with Noah Esenge, someone who's long, athletic, fluid, can get to certain spots on the court. Of course, this draft order a little funky, a little weird, but all things considered, with us trying to keep it somewhat realistic, I don't think it's completely impossible for Noah Esenge to fall out of the top 13 picks in this draft. He moves to the end of the lottery, goes to San Antonio. We get Johan Berenger at 38, which I think is very, very good value at this point. And then Dylan Harper at 2, I think is another really good outcome for us, where the Spurs walk away with 3 players who can be impact guys pretty much immediately on their roster. I think this does help their team quite a bit long term, improving their current roster quite a bit, with Harper being what should be a day 1 starter, Noah Senge being a guy who would be a top 8 rotation player for them and offer some very good athletic gifts to work with long term. And then Behringer, kind of a draft and develop big man here, but with Wemby's presence, you can let Behringer play 12 minutes a game. Tell him, hey, go block as many shots as you can. We don't care if you foul. We don't care if you get in foul trouble. We don't care if you mess up a defensive rotation here and there. We want to have your impact felt at the rim, and I think there's some serious value there for the Spurs as well. So I think all things considered, this is a very strong mock draft for San Antonio. I hope you guys have enjoyed this mini mock. If you have, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more NBA content, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.